Well, hello everybody, and welcome to College Football Wrap Around. We hope that you enjoyed that intro a little bit. My thinking about that was, we had the solar eclipse yesterday, and I was thinking maybe it'd be cool if I did a little something neat. So, gave you an eclipse intro. Hope that was something that you enjoyed. But right now, we are here to talk about some college football. And as you can see on the top right of your screen, today's college football wraparound. And I haven't been here to talk about some college football in quite a while. And so let's dive into it. Today is a fun day, really, because this is one that I love and I enjoy doing within the college football realm, and that is predicting stuff while we're in the what most call the off season of college football. Now, of course, going on is the spring games throughout the month of April and into May, and I think there were some back in March, but really, this is prediction season. How are teams going to stack up, and what are we going to see? So, really, we don't know how things are actually going to go, but I am here tonight to give you just some of my predictions. Now, this is something that me and my family have done for years and years now, and so this is something that if my family's watching, then here you go. Here is my predictions, and if you want to copy them down, you can, or you can come back later and watch the video and copy down all my predictions. But tonight, I want to start with conference championship games because I think that's going to be very interesting, especially with the way college football's going. I want to see, of course, one of the big things we're going to want to see is with the expanded playoff, new conferences and everything, that I think most people want to see if you're an undefeated team after week, if you're in the SEC, you're 10-0, are you actually going to continue wanting to win? Are you going to rest players? How is that going to work? So, of course, what is the status about, what is the status of conference championship games? We will see. But for now, let's predict some conference championship games, beginning with the ACC championship, which I predict that Clemson and Florida State will face each other in the ACC championship game. Now, Florida State, I think that they're a team that for years to come could dominate in the ACC. And I think Mike Norvell, he's a good coach. And so I think they will continue being one of the top teams in the ACC. Now, of course, they've lost a lot, but they've brought in quite a few players out of the transfer portal as well. And that's where they've really strived if you were talking about Florida State. So very interested to see how they do. And then Clemson, I just think it's just simple. I think they're going to have a bounce back year. Now, these past few years have kind of been a little low. But you know what? With the expanded playoff, I think there's a lot of hope as to what next season could bring if you are a Clemson Tiger fan. So, with all that being said, then the ACC championship game. Who do I think is going to win it? Honestly, I got to be honest with you. I think Clemson's going to win it. I think that Florida State's going to look at it and be like, okay, because I think at this point in the season, they're going to be either 12-0 or 11-1. And they're going to look at it and be like, okay, we could either have a bye, or if we lose, we're still getting in the playoff. because it's a 12-team playoff. And most likely, if Florida State looks very dominant, then I think Florida State would still get in with a loss in the ACC championship game. Big thing is, I think, if I'm going to rephrase this, I think if they go into the ACC championship game undefeated and lose a very narrow game against Clemson in the ACC championship game, Florida State, I think, would still be in the top 12. And you're going to see my playoff prediction in just a little while. But ACC championship game, I got Clemson beating Florida State. That is my ACC championship game. Now, we move to the Big 12 championship game. I have Oklahoma State taking on Utah. Now, Oklahoma State, one of the teams that's been in the Big 12 for quite a while. You know, they've been upset about the whole situation regarding Oklahoma and Texas just dumping the Big 12 for cash. Oklahoma State's really been really mad about that. So I think Oklahoma State comes out with a mentality of, okay, it's our conference now. Let's go take it. So Oklahoma State, and I think Utah. Utah, I think, is a team, and I mean, let's be honest, Cam Rising's coming back. Utah could be a team to really be scared about, I think, in this upcoming season. So when you talk about teams that could potentially, like outside of the SEC or the Big Ten, that could really impress and really deserve a top 4 seed, Utah, I think, is going to be that team. Utah, I think, if you're looking at a team that definitely, I mean, I think people are thinking they're going to be good, but I'm thinking they'll be even better than what a lot of people are saying. So I would say Big 12 championship. I would say Utah, maybe 1 loss at this point. And for all these reasons, Utah will win the Big 12. Utah will go to Arlington, take on Oklahoma State, and win the Big 12 championship in their first season in the conference. Because I think Utah is that good. Trust me, I think they are. Like I said, Cam Rising is coming back. He is a big reason why Utah underachieved from what they wanted. All while, I mean, Bryson Barnes did a pretty good job, I thought. And I can't remember the other guy's name, but the other quarterback they had did a good job. Utah is a team that I think will win the Big 12. So that's my Big 12 prediction. And then you got the Big 10 championship. You got Ohio State against Oregon. Another Pac-12, former Pac-12 team coming into a new conference and taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes. And you may be asking me, Cooper, how come you don't have Michigan? Well, with Jim Harbaugh leaving, I don't have a lot of faith that Michigan will be anything more than just an 8-4 school. Even with what could be remaining from the championship team, I still think 8-4 is where Michigan's going to be. Oregon, I think, has got a great coach, Dan Lanning, and they've got a program where it's all about football and winning. So I would say Ohio State against Oregon is a lock for a Big Ten championship. Plus, Ohio State picking up Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins, which is a huge pickup when you think about Ohio State. They don't have to rely on the passing game as much, which, I mean, they didn't exactly have to last season, but Quinshon Judkins, one of the best running backs in college football. Huge pickup for the Buckeyes. And I think for a guy like Will Howard, I think having a good run game will complement him very, very well up there in Columbus. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's enough. I think that the Oregon Ducks will win the Big Ten in their first season. Another team you may be wondering, Cooper, how come you don't have this team? USC, why do you not have them? And that's a good question. But USC to me is a team that I feel like everyone's going to have the expectation of, oh, they're going to be so good. They're going to be incredible. But severely underachieve. Now, last season, I did kind of go back and forth on them, but at some point I remember, I think it was like August of last year, I did say that do not get caught up in the USC hype. I said like 7-5. I got it right. And you want to know why? Because without a defense, you can't win football games. You can't win anything meaningful. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how they've improved defensively, but it's not going to be enough. You're going into the Big Ten. You don't have a chance this season, at least. So, Big Ten, Oregon is going to win. And then you have the SEC. Folks, we're talking about the best conference in college football. I don't care what anybody says. The SEC is the king of college football. And here is your SEC championship. And you may be wondering, Cooper, how could you still have Alabama against Georgia? Well, it's simple. Alabama's got talent still. Georgia's still got talent. Georgia is going to be an incredible football team. Alabama will be an incredible football team. Kalen DeBoer is an incredible head coach. And Alabama will come into this game 11-1. Georgia will come in 12-0. But both teams will leave 12-1 because Alabama will win the SEC championship game, and they are a lock for number 1 in the college football playoff. You want to know why? Because I think Oregon's going to be 12-1 going into the college football playoff. And I think the committee's going to look at it and be like, Alabama's a better team. So, that is my conference championship and conference champions predictions. And I did hint at this about my playoff. So, you want my playoff? Here we go. Here is my college football playoff. And I'm going to take that off for a minute. All right, so here it is, the playoff prediction. And as you can see, we've got number 8, Michigan, taking on number 9, Ole Miss. That I'm predicting will be a December 21st game, 3 o'clock, ABC. I think Michigan, and you know what? I don't know why I put Michigan in here. I literally just said I thought they were 8-4. But also think about this, though. When we're looking at the college football playoff, 8-4 could be good enough for a Michigan to get into the playoff. So 8-4, Michigan against number 9, Ole Miss. Not sure what the record's going to look like at this moment. 3 o'clock ABC game. And this is Central Time. So keep that in mind. And then you move down the bracket. Georgia against Memphis. That's 11 a.m. December 21st, ESPN. I mean, Memphis, I guess that kind of gives it away, is my group of 5. The best team out of the group of 5. They're coming from the American. I think it's just easy to say Memphis is going to win. And then you've got Ohio State and Florida State playing on December 20th. You got two conference championship runner-ups going against each other. Very interesting matchup between these two. And then you've got Texas and Notre Dame in prime time on Saturday, December 21st on ABC. So you look at these matchups. Notre Dame, I think they're a team that I don't think they'll beat Texas because I think Texas is going to be really good still in the SEC. But here's the deal. Notre Dame always finds a way to be finish the season either ranked 10 through 19. That's kind of like their tier of where they're at right at this moment. So if I'm going to be honest with you, I think Notre Dame will finish the season number 10 in the country, and they'll be playing Texas. It's going back to the bracket. You can see the teams I have moving on. I got Ole Miss beating Michigan. I have Georgia beating Memphis. Now, this Georgia-Memphis game I think will be a blowout, to say the least. And there's a reason why Georgia's number 5, which, to be honest, I still think this kind of stinks if you are Georgia because you're definitely probably the second best team in college football and you have a 5 ranking. Yeah, that kind of hurts. And then Ohio State will take down Florida State. I mean, Ohio State's just going to be too good for Florida State. I'm just going to be honest. Florida State, I just don't think they have the talent to match up with Ohio State. So Ohio State will move on to go to the Fiesta Bowl and play Utah. And then I've got Texas over Notre Dame, like I said. They will head to the Rose Bowl to take on Oregon. So, in some of the most craziest things to have to say, you got SEC versus SEC with Alabama and Ole Miss. You got ACC versus SEC, which is a rematch for the regular season between Clemson and Georgia. Then you got Big 12 against Big 10 with Utah and Ohio State. Now, they did play recently in the Rose Bowl, I believe. If I'm correct, I believe they did play each other in the Rose Bowl a couple years ago. And then Oregon and Texas, a Big 10 versus SEC matchup in the Rose Bowl, which is crazy to think about that it's Big 10 versus SEC when normally we would have said Pac-12 versus Big 12. But those are your matchups in the quarterfinal round of the college football playoff. And then I have Alabama beating Ole Miss. And then I've got Georgia taking down Clemson because I just think Georgia, like I said, second best team in the country. And then I got Ohio State beating Utah. Again, Ohio State's just too talented for Utah, which I think Utah will still be pretty good, but Ohio State's going to be too much. And then I think Texas is too much for Oregon. So you got SEC versus SEC in the semifinal, and then you got SEC versus Big 10 in the other semifinal. Alabama and Georgia will be at the Orange Bowl. Ohio State and Texas at the Cotton Bowl. So, how do I have these matchups going? I got Alabama against Texas for the national championship game. I just think them two will end up finding a way getting there to the promised land, which is the national championship, which will be in Atlanta. First city, I think it will be the first city to have 2 college football playoff national championship games. And that's significant because before the college football playoff, you had the BCS. And so this is the second national championship game being played in Atlanta that's part of the college football playoff. So, you want to know my national champion? I don't have it listed here because I have the predictions of when I think these games will be played and what station in the time frame. I just wanted to predict that too because, I can. So, coming back to my camera, your national champion is going to be the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, you may be thinking, Cooper, there's something weird about this. No, there's not. Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. Alabama will end up winning the national championship. I guarantee it, as Charles Barkley would say. All right, folks. Let's get to our last topic of the night as far as prediction, and then we will call it a night. And that is hot seat coaches. Who do I have on the hot seat? Well, I got two guys to mention to you. Now, one, fans, I think, started out, they loved him, and now it's kind of gone downhill, especially last season. And I hate to admit it, but Sam Pittman of Arkansas, he's on the hot seat. I mean, he's got to provide something good for Arkansas this season. If not, he's going to be gone. I mean, no doubt he will be gone if they. I would say this: Arkansas, I think, if he has an 8-4 record, I think he keeps his job. Anything under that, I feel like he could get fired. Even a 7-5 season, I think, will get him fired. So, I mean, tough stuff for Sam Pittman, but yeah, I think he's on the hot seat. I think he's got to provide something for these Arkansas fans. And it's not going to be any easier because I believe, and you can comment below, but I believe KJ Jefferson is leaving. I think he left Arkansas. So if that is true, then you definitely have a tougher time if you're Arkansas. And then Billy Napier of Florida, he's the next one. Again, I think it's a situation where he better provide something for these Florida fans. I don't think 6-6 or 7-5 is good enough. I think you got to get an 8-4 season here. And quite frankly, you got a hard schedule coming up if you're Florida. For all the teams that could get a hard schedule, the SEC gave it to Florida. So, Billy Napier, you got to do something this season, or Florida's going to fire you. Sadly. Well, that is pretty much all the predictions I want to do for tonight. Now, I don't exactly know when my next live stream is going to be, but my next one, I'm planning on talking about my Heisman prediction for next season. So you're going to want to stick around for that. And a lot more news as it comes within college football. So I want to thank you for watching this stream tonight. And for anyone who wants to keep up, go ahead. You can definitely always, you can come back to the video if you want to write down all my predictions and keep up with how I do coming up this season. But I also want to do this so that I can come back about, mid-December and look at this and be like, wow, he was definitely wrong about that. Or, I was right. You never know. But thanks for watching, everybody. We will talk to you again later. Good night, everybody.